So we're just coming southbound now towards Coliseum, and it looks like LAPD has a couple of units right behind them and the helicopter overhead. So trying to get a little more information on this. We don't believe that there was an accident or anyone has been hurt at this point. It looks like they picked this up right off the 10 freeway or just south of the 10 in the mid-city area, and just crossing MLK now, continuing southbound.
Well, we're seeing him finally come up to some traffic. Let's see how he operates around these other cars, because he had a full road access, and now he's having to go through the traffic. And we'll see just how dangerous he's going to. Yep.
Just ran through a red light.
Yeah, Baldwin Hills. Yeah, Baldwin Hills area, and you're right, Ellen. You know, it sort of gives us an idea what's going through the suspects and the driver's mind when we see exactly how quickly they go through some of these intersections, whether they stop for the red lights, just how desperate they are to get away. It's going to be tricky for us here in a moment, just past Stalker, continuing southbound. It will be tricky for us because of the LAX airspace. As we continue southbound, we may not be able to continue on it. If it continues south and heads down towards that Inglewood area, that'll put us in the flight path to LAX. But LAPD at this point content to stay behind it somewhat and to not push this vehicle too hard as far as trying to get away from them and making erratic turns and becoming more dangerous. But certainly they're not taking a stance where they're going to back off. So we're trying to find out here, if we can, exactly what the suspect or the suspects, if there are two on board, are wanted for.
Just went through another red light as we're watching him speed up past this other car and driving pretty quickly through those streets. Definitely not a freeway speed that he's on. And it looks like is he getting off somewhere? Oh, no, never mind.
And just to let you know, if you're just tuning on, and we don't know what these guys are wanted for. Apparently a couple of people in this car, it's believed. It has been running from the LAPD, started in the mid-city area, and we're just watching it closely. This guy is going at a high rate of speed, and he's run a couple of red lights. So we know that he's got a tendency of being reckless, although, as Scott said, we don't know, or we don't think he's gotten into any accidents just yet, but we're going to continue to watch him closely, especially dealing with this right here in the middle of a lot of traffic. Scott?
This really will tell us the mindset of the suspect here. Stop traffic just south of 48th, southbound on Crenshaw. We have to hold north to this spot at this time, so we can follow this only with our camera and the extent of our lens because of the airspace. But certainly the suspect at that point wasn't desperate enough to slam into some of those cars, and LAPD wasn't going to approach him at a high rate and try and push him further. So I think they're setting back right now just a little bit. It's better that they let this thing play out and they make sure that no one is injured than to press the suspect too hard. But we're headed down towards Crenshaw southbound, south of 48th. Looks like now probably about 50th Street, continuing south. So another red light here, and an extremely dangerous situation when you run through something like that. You can see situations like that. We've seen people get killed before running through those types of red lights like that. So it's a really a sad sight to see, because we've seen so many of these things end up hurting innocent people.
Right, especially as he's going to some of those residential streets as well, and those busy intersections where a lot of traffic, foot traffic, going on the wrong side of the road now, trying to figure out, okay, where am I going to go? But it's just making his way through on the wrong
traffic
side.
Right there, trying to squeeze through, going over the double yellow line, and there's already construction on that road, so there's going to be some confusion and some heavy traffic. You see him going back and forth, kind of nervously trying to find a way out. And there he goes again, redirecting there, and the police, you see, are right behind him. So not sure what he plans to do or what this guy is wanted for. We're still trying to get information on that, but this is already a dangerous pursuit. It is rush hour right now, and you can see the traffic on there and construction, and this guy is just desperately trying to get away, but he has clearly nowhere to go, at least right now.
Yeah,
and we've been released now to come south, so we can actually follow this for a bit. From time to time, they'll let us do that at LAX, and this is southbound on Crenshaw still, the Hyde Park area, continuing south. It looks like the suspect really getting more and more desperate each time they stop, or he stops. It looks like the turns are a little more erratic, so certainly that's a major concern for officers. This is Florence right here, I believe. That was a green light, so it certainly was safe to go through that, but we've seen several red lights have been run, and then once again now we are stopped and restricted north because we can't go any further south. The LAPD still does have a couple of units behind the car, but they're not pressing him at a high rate of speed. Sometimes they back off and they'll just follow. We're at 77th Street. They still have the helicopter overhead. And, boy, the speeds appear to me to be picking up, which really makes this even a more tricky situation, and certainly more dangerous.
Yeah, he's certainly showing signs of desperation as he goes there on the shoulder of the road, and we've seen him driving on the wrong side of the road, and all that MTA construction zone that he went by, just one lane on the other side, and he's just making his way through that lane.
Yeah, we're down into Inglewood, and we just can't go any further south. We're going to have to try and go around and pick this up on the south side because we can't pass that flight path of LAX. So that's going to be our strategy at this point. We're going to lose that individual, and we'll get right back to you as soon as we can. If he continues southbound, we'll pick him up south around the 105 freeway where we're cleared to fly once again.
Right there you see LAX. You see some other helicopters. This is a restricted flight area because of LAX. So Scott is going to work his way around that area. There's a decent chance we're going to get this chase again because this guy clearly is not giving up, and he is just going. He's not necessarily circling around this area.
Yes.
It looks like he's trying to fly through it, and drive through it. Scott's going to fly through this area and try to pick it up on the back side over there. Scott continuing on in that direction, but that's why you see this odd camera shot because he's flying around restricted area in the airspace, and you could kind of tell what's going on by watching the law enforcement helicopters. There they are, continuing to watch this pursuit. So they give us some idea of where this pursuit is going to be. Often these law enforcement helicopters can stick pretty close to the suspects and give us some indication of where the pursuit is going and exactly what streets it's sitting on.
And we're hearing that he threw a gun out of the car, and the police have retrieved that gun. So we know he is a dangerous individual, desperate to get away from the authorities. And we know there are two individuals in that car. We don't know what they or he is wanted for, but we know that he did throw a gun out of the window. That is what we're hearing, the latest. And so now
we're getting word that he just passed Kareem Court by the Forum, if you're familiar with that area. And I'm sorry, southbound Prairie from Manchester is where he is right now. There's the Forum right there. Southbound Prairie from Manchester. So he's in that direction. We're very close. There's the police. You can see the police right behind him. So Scott is still able to keep some semblance of our camera staying on it. And let's see where the police go and how far up he is. They're going straight there. I still don't see the suspect's vehicle, and we don't even know what kind of vehicle it is, but it does look like a dark black compact car. I couldn't quite make it out the specific make, but it's a smaller vehicle. So in some respects, that's a good thing, because sometimes we get so worried about these larger vehicles.
Westbound Hardy from Prairie now. He is considered an armed suspect at this point, so it's more important that they get their guy. They're not going to let him out of their sight.
Right, especially throwing a gun out the vehicle, which also begs the question, are there more firearms inside that vehicle? The bad news here is they looped around, it looks like.
And apparently they've lost the suspect, and they're setting up a perimeter in that area now. That is what we're hearing. Producers telling me in my ear.
Scott, let me ask you, with restricted airspace, is law enforcement restricted as well, or is just news media?
They will be restricted as well in some situations because they have final traffic going into LAX, and there are separation issues. We understand that the vehicle turned west on Hardy off of Prairie, and LAPD lost them, so they're setting up a containment area in that particular area right now. But LAPD, at this point, they're able to fly in this area, but depending on what traffic is coming into LAX, they could actually be pushed out as well due to safety concerns. It's not so much restricted airspace as it is airspace that they won't let us in depending on their traffic pattern. We're at a higher altitude than the LAPD, so we're more restricted than they are. They're a little lower, and the separation is better for those flights coming into LAX. But with the suspect throwing out a handgun, it looks like at this point they believe he still may be armed. At least they're going to take that assumption. Two suspects, they believe, inside the vehicle, and